Okay. Step 1. Okay, guys, we've started. Step 1. Obviously, the first thing you need to do is you need to get the email and then open it. The email is going to have a zip file, and all that zip file is going to have is all of your quizzes and all of your tests in it. Okay? I am going to make sure I have everyone's email before they leave today, yes. Okay, step 2. After Christmas, okay? After Christmas, begin studying. And so this is how you're going to do it. It's probably best not to reserve 2 to 3 hours a day. I'm not expecting that. I'm not asking that. What I am asking you to do is to reserve around 15 minutes to maybe 30 minutes each day just going through basic problems, okay? And you're going to find that the majority of the problems that are on those quizzes and tests you'll be able to go through. Okay, step 3. What if there is a problem I do not know how to do? Okay, so let's say that there's a problem that you don't know how to do. And so let's say, for example, that it's on Chapter 3.1 test. It's in 3.1. Well, then what do?
Get in a study group.
Well, let's say you don't have fellow geometry people with you over Christmas break. Step 1. Make sure, guys, you got to listen up. This is serious. Listen up, guys. Get your book, which means you need to take your book home with you this Christmas break. Get your book. Open up to section 3.1 and go through some examples. That's the first thing that you do. And that will probably remind you of, oh, this is how I do this kind of a problem. Okay? If you're still struggling with it, then another resource is just to go to YouTube and to literally type in the kind of question that you're having. So for example, let me go to section 3.1 and let's just look at what section 3.1 is all about. Lines and angles. So this section is about lines and angles, 3.1. And let's say you don't know what skew segments are. Let's say you don't know what skew segments are. So what you can do, let's just see if we can find something real quick here. So youtube.com and then wait. Geometry, skew lines. And bam, right there. You've probably got about 10,000 people at your doorstep ready and willing to teach you what skew lines are. Okay? So that's another way that you can do a little bit of research online. I'm not asking you to invest hours and hours and hours every day. I don't expect that, but I do expect you to be able to study for this test, and I'm giving you strategies to do that right now. If you don't study for this midterm, there's a good chance you're going to walk out with a D or an F. You've got to study. I can only do so much. I can only answer you. Again, you may use your portfolios for your tests and quizzes. So you may use your portfolio, yes, absolutely. And for the midterm particularly, you'll need your portfolio right from the beginning of Chapter 1 all the way through 4.8, which is the last section on the midterm. Right now I'm in the middle of something. Can you come back a little bit? Thank you. Okay? So that's the first thing you do. Okay? So if you encounter something that you're not sure, so if you encounter a problem, I can't type, that you cannot solve, I can't type, solve, do some internet research. Type it in YouTube. And there's a good chance that you're going to find people there ready and willing to be able to do it. Now, what if that doesn't result in anything? Okay. Then, absolutely after that, email me. Okay? jpartridge@bangorchristian.org. Or, if you are so inclined,
I just see you in church.
What's your Skype?
You can, but I try not to do math on Sundays.
Oh, okay.
Or you can call me. But yeah, you can ask me a couple questions at church. Okay, my number, 217-5039, is my cell phone number.
No, your Skype name.
I don't have a Skype.
Oh.
I don't do
You
Skype.
have a Facebook account?
Do I have a Facebook account?
Yes.
Yes, but I don't add students as friends as a policy.
You don't like that?
That has nothing to do with it. The day and age we live in, it's a not good thing to do. Okay? Okay. Now, this is the study strategy that works best. The seeker. That's the person who studies the best for the exam. And to be a seeker, you only need one thing. You only need one thing. You need to ask, please listen up, thank you. You need to ask yourself, how do I solve this kind of a problem? And then you make sure that you're not content until you figure it out. You actually do some research, you try and figure out the answer. If you encounter something that you're studying for and you just don't get it, use those resources that I just gave you. Do those steps that I just gave you to try and figure out how to work out the problem. Okay? And do not be content with saying, oh well, I'll never get it. Because that's not true. It takes very little to be a seeker, but you have to be active in seeking. You've got to be the one to say, I'm just not going to give up until I understand this. Okay? Now, unfortunately, and if you've already decided to do this, this is unfortunate. You've sold yourself short. What a lot of people will do is if they go over through any of the problems at all, they only look at the tests and the quizzes that I've given them. And what they do is they get this idea of, well, I kind of get this problem, so I know how to do it. And that's not true at all. What that is that's called familiarity. And if you're familiar with a problem, that does not mean you know how to solve a problem, if you're familiar with it. You know, I can give an example like this. Here's A, here's B, here's C, and so angle AB, this is point D, angle ABC is equal to 6x, let's say plus 20, and I want to know what is the measure of angle DBC. What's the measure of angle DBC? Explain to me, how do you go about figuring out the angle of DBC, the measure of angle DBC? Josie. This is 3x plus 50. This is 2x plus 10. And this is 6x plus 20. So you know how to set up the equation then. That's exactly right. What you do is what you're seeing here is the angle addition postulate. The whole angle ABC can be broken up into smaller angles, ABD and DBC. So you can add the expressions up here, set them equal to this. And what's that going to give you when you solve the equation? It's going to give you the value of x. Then the question is, have I solved the problem? No. You've got to do what with x? Right, so we want to plug it into the measure for DBC. Which of these two is that? The 3x plus 50. So whatever the value of x is, you plug it in, you solve the problem. Good. Okay, so the only way, actually I'm just going to type this part out. the only way that you know that you are ready for the test is if you can go through all the problems on your own with no additional help from another person or the book or any other source. Once you can do that, you know you're ready for the test. So don't confuse familiarity, and I was plagued with this myself when I was learning this stuff. I would look at a problem all the time, studying for a test and just looking at it and saying, well, I know the addition angle postulate, or I know the HL congruence. That makes sense. But when I actually had to sit down and do the problem in the test, my mind would go completely blank. And the reason why my mind went completely blank is because I was only familiar with the problem. I didn't really know how to go through the problem. If you just sit down and take the time and do 15 minutes, after December 26th, sit down, do 15 minutes. Rehearse yourself 15 minutes each day. You're doing a lot. You're doing way more than you think you are. I promise you. I promise you. You're doing way more than you think you are. Okay? Now, when we come back from Christmas break, I am going to spend a little bit of time. I've got just a small window. I'm going to give you a quiz on the Chapter 4 sections that we've covered so far. I have to give you some kind of an assessment on that. The midterm is going to cover from Chapters 1 all the way through Chapter 4, and we're going to spend a little bit of time reviewing for that. Okay? Okay, the last thing, another last resource, and this is a great resource for studying for the midterm, is to go to the Ready to Go On sections in the book. That is a great place to go. And for the majority part, they've got the solutions right in the back of the book. Okay? Now, if there's a problem that you worked through and you think you did it well, but you're just not sure of the answer, by all means, email me. By all means. Email me. I'll look it up and I'll say, yep, you got it, or no, you don't, and I'll help you from there as best as I can. Okay? Any questions? Any questions? What I'm asking, I do expect you to study over the break. I do. But what I'm asking you to study for, 15 minutes. Break it up each day after Christmas. Don't do anything until after Christmas. All right? Let Christmas come, have fun, then December 26th. All right, then break it up. Okay? And if you're consistent, if you do 15 minutes a day, you'll be doing way more than you think you're doing. Okay? Questions, comments, concerns?
You didn't say.
Huh?